Imagine this. Two little girls, just orphaned, stand at the curb with their meager belongings. The front door of their home slams shut behind them, a cruel final act by the woman who is supposed to be their new mother. It's a classic story of betrayal, but just as the camera pulls back on their despair, a brand new Mercedes screeches to a halt. A man in a tailored suit bursts out and shouts something that changes everything. What did he say? The answer is more shocking than you could ever guess. Hey, story lover! Welcome to the Narrative Hub, Reddit Stories. Believe me, this adventure gets wild, but it's only epic with you. Seriously, you make this possible. Want more stories? Greater adventure? Smash subscribe right now. Smash like. Comment below. Let's go. 6-year-old Emma clutched her sister's hand so tightly her knuckles turned white. 8-year-old Sophia tried to be brave, but tears streamed down her dirt-stained cheeks as they watched their stepmother, Victoria, throw their father's old suitcase onto the sidewalk. Their few precious belongings scattered across the concrete, a worn teddy bear, some clothes that smelled like their daddy's cologne, and a photo of happier times. You heard me, Victoria snarled from the doorway, her black funeral dress already replaced with designer jeans. I never wanted you to, and I'm not about to start now that he's gone. Find somewhere else to be. The funeral had been just 3 hours ago. Their father, Malin, had been laid to rest under gray October skies, and now his daughters were being cast out like yesterday's trash. Emma's small voice broke the silence, but Daddy said you'd take care of us. Victoria's laugh was sharp as broken glass. Your daddy said a lot of things. He also left me with mountains of debt and 2 brats I never asked for. The door slammed with a finality that echoed through the quiet suburban street. The girls stood there, 2 small figures against the vast emptiness of abandonment. That's when the Mercedes appeared. The sleek black vehicle didn't just park, it commanded the street, screeching to a halt with the urgency of a man on a mission. The driver's door flung open before the engine stopped running, and out stepped a figure that seemed to materialize from another world entirely. The man was tall, imposing, with silver hair and eyes like steel. His suit probably cost more than most people's cars, but it wasn't his wealth that made passers-by stop and stare. It was the raw intensity radiating from every step as he approached the girls. "Stop," he shouted, not at the girls, but at Victoria, who had been watching from behind her curtains. "Don't you dare close that door." Victoria appeared on her porch, confused and irritated. "Who the hell are you? This is private property." The man ignored her completely. He knelt down in front of Emma and Sophia, his stern expression softening for just a moment. "Are you Malin Thompson's daughters?" Sophia nodded hesitantly. "Yes, sir. He died yesterday." The man's jaw clenched. When he stood and turned toward Victoria, something dangerous flickered in his eyes. "My name is Alexander Sterling. And you, madam, have just made the biggest mistake of your life." Victoria crossed her arms defiantly. "I don't care who you are. These kids aren't my problem anymore." "Actually," Sterling said, pulling out his phone, "they're about to become your biggest regret." He pressed a button, and suddenly the quiet street filled with the sound of approaching vehicles. 2 black SUVs rounded the corner, followed by what looked like a legal team stepping out of a third car. "You see, Victoria," Sterling continued, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority, "I've been looking for these girls for quite some time. More specifically, I've been looking for Malin Thompson's heirs." "Heirs?" Victoria laughed nervously. "Malin died broke. I've got bill collectors calling every hour." Sterling smiled, a cold, predatory expression that made Victoria take a step backward. "That's because you never knew who Malin really was, did you?" He reached into his jacket and pulled out a leather portfolio, thick with documents. "Your late husband wasn't just Malin Thompson, struggling contractor. His real name was Malin Sterling Thompson. He was my younger brother." The words hit like a physical blow. Victoria's face went white. My brother disappeared 15 years ago, Sterling continued, after our father disowned him for falling in love with the wrong woman, Emma, and Sophia's biological mother, Mildred. Dad cut him off completely, said he'd never see a penny of the Sterling fortune. Sophia and Emma looked at each other with wide eyes. Their daddy had a brother? A rich brother? But here's what my dear brother never knew. Sterling's voice dropped to almost a whisper. Our father died 5 years ago. And his will? His will had a very specific clause about lost heirs. Sterling opened the portfolio and pulled out an official-looking document. The Sterling estate is worth $400 million. Upon our father's death, it was divided equally between all direct male heirs and their offspring. Since my brother predeceased our father, his share passes directly to his biological children. He looked down at Emma and Sophia with something resembling warmth. These two little girls you just threw out on the street? They're each worth $50 million. The neighborhood seemed to hold its breath. Even the October wind stopped blowing. Victoria's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. That's impossible. Malin would have known. He would have said something. Would he? Sterling challenged. The man who ran away from his family 15 years ago rather than fight for his inheritance? The man who was so proud he never contacted us, even when his first wife was dying of cancer and they couldn't afford treatment. The truth hit like a sledgehammer. Emma and Sophia's biological mother, Mildred, had died when Emma was barely 2 years old. Malin had been devastated, struggling to raise 2 young daughters alone until he met Victoria 3 years later. But Sterling wasn't finished. His expression darkened as he continued, "There's something else, Victoria. Something that makes this situation much more serious than a simple custody dispute." He nodded to one of the men from the legal team, who stepped forward with another set of documents. "We've been investigating Malin's death. You see, a $400 million inheritance creates certain motivations." Victoria's face went from white to green. "What are you suggesting?" "I'm not suggesting anything," Sterling said calmly. "I'm stating facts. 3 months ago, you took out a life insurance policy on your husband. A very large policy. And last week, you Googled untraceable poisons 14 times. The street erupted in whispers from neighbors who had gathered to watch the drama unfold. Someone called the police. Victoria stumbled backward. "You're insane," she screamed. "Malin had a heart attack. The doctors confirmed it." "Yes," Sterling nodded, "but funny thing about certain plant toxins, they mimic heart attack symptoms perfectly. Especially digitalis. You know, the foxglove flowers you've been growing in your backyard garden." Sterling pulled out his phone and showed Victoria the screen. "This is Detective Harrison with the County Sheriff's Department. We've been working together for the past month, ever since I hired investigators to find my brother's children." Victoria tried to run, but the men from the SUVs were already moving to intercept her. She spun around wildly, looking for escape routes that didn't exist. "The coroner is reopening Malin's case as we speak," Sterling continued relentlessly. "They're testing for digitalis poisoning. And when they find it, and they will, you'll be facing murder charges. First-degree murder, motivated by greed." "But I didn't know," Victoria shrieked. "I didn't know about any inheritance. I thought we were broke." Sterling's smile was razor-thin. "That's what makes this so particularly stupid, Victoria. You killed a man for a $200,000 insurance payout, never realizing his daughters were worth 200 times that amount." As police sirens wailed in the distance, Sterling knelt down next to Emma and Sophia again. The two girls had watched this entire exchange in stunned silence, trying to process that their stepmother might have hurt their daddy. "There's one more thing," Sterling said gently, "something I haven't told anyone yet." He reached into his pocket and pulled out an envelope, yellowed with age. "This is a letter your father wrote to me 15 years ago, the day he left. I only found it last month after our father died. It was hidden in Dad's desk drawer." With trembling hands, he unfolded the letter and read aloud, "Alex, if anything ever happens to me, please find my daughters and tell them their daddy loved them more than all the money in the world. And tell them their Uncle Alex will take care of them because family is the only thing that really matters. Love, Mullen." Emma started crying, not from sadness, but from relief. Sophia threw her arms around Sterling's neck. "Are you really our uncle?" "Yes," he whispered, his own voice breaking slightly. "And I'm so sorry it took me this long to find you." As Victoria was led away in handcuffs, shouting about lawyers and wrongful arrest, Sterling looked down at his newfound nieces. "Would you like to come home with me? I have a big house with a library and a garden and rooms that can be decorated however you want them." Emma tugged on his expensive jacket. "Will there be pictures of our daddy?" "Hundreds of them," Sterling promised. "And stories. So many stories about what he was like when he was young." The crowd that had gathered began to disperse as the drama wound down, but the whispers would continue for months. Victoria Wellington, the woman who had seemed so proper, so put together, was a murderer. And two little orphan girls had gone from homeless to millionaires in the span of one afternoon. But as Sterling loaded their meager belongings into his Mercedes, Emma asked the question that would haunt the case for years to come. "Uncle Alex, how did you know to come here today? How did you know Victoria was going to kick us out?" Sterling paused, his hand on the car door handle. For the first time all afternoon, he looked uncertain. "Because," he said quietly, "I've been watching this house for 3 months. Ever since I suspected Victoria had poisoned my brother. I was waiting for her to make her move against you too." The truth settled over them like a cold blanket. Sterling hadn't just arrived to save them, he'd been planning this confrontation all along, using the girls as bait to force Victoria into revealing her true nature. As they drove away from the only home Emma and Sophia had ever known, toward a future filled with more money than they could imagine, one question remained. In a world where everyone seemed to have hidden motives, could they trust their newfound uncle completely? Or was this just the beginning of an even more dangerous game?